The story of Stranger Things begins in 1983 inches, Hawkins, Indiana, with the mysterious disappearance of a young boy, Will Byers. Most people assume it's a typical missing child case, but Will's friends, Mike Wheeler, Dustin Henderson, and Lucas Sinclair, suspect something far stranger is happening. While searching for Will, the boys discover a mysterious young girl with a shaved head named 11. She has escaped from a government facility, Hawkins National Laboratory, where experiments on her have given her psychokinetic abilities. 11 agrees to help her new friends find and save Will, while Mike, Dustin, and Lucas teach her what it's like to live as a normal kid. Along the way, Mike and 11 even begin to develop romantic feelings for each other. It turns out that Will is trapped in a dark alternate dimension known as the Upside Down, a place the Hawkins lab had been investigating. This dimension is home to monstrous creatures known as Demogorgons. From the Upside Down, Will manages to communicate with his mother, Joyce Byers, who never believed that her son's disappearance was as ordinary as it seemed. Joyce eventually convinces the town's carefree sheriff, Jim Hopper, to conduct an unconventional investigation. As Hopper digs deeper, he begins to suspect that the experiments at Hawkins' lab are connected to Will's disappearance. Higher authorities constantly try to stop him, pushing Hopper to go rogue and uncover the truth on his own. Meanwhile, Mike's older sister, Nancy Wheeler, is dating popular bad boy and hair icon, Steve Harrington. When Nancy's friend Barb goes missing, she teams up with Will's outcast older brother, Jonathan Byers, who is often bullied by Steve's friends. Together, Nancy and Jonathan investigate the strange events unfolding in their town, unaware that Barb has been taken into the Upside Down and killed by a Demogorgon, meaning time is running out to save Will from the same fate. In the end, Hopper and Joyce enter the Upside Down through a portal inside Hawkins' lab to rescue Will. This journey also forces Hopper to confront the grief of losing his young daughter, Sarah, to cancer. Meanwhile, Nancy and Jonathan set a trap at the Byers' house to kill a Demogorgon. Steve arrives at the worst moment, unintentionally getting pulled into the fight. The trio injures the monster, but it manages to escape. Elsewhere, the head of Hawkins' lab, Dr. Martin Brenner, tracks 11 and her friends to their middle school. The injured Demogorgon appears, seemingly killing Brenner and his team before attacking the kids. 11 uses her powers to destroy the creature, sacrificing herself in the process. As the season ends, Hopper secretly leaves a box of Eggo, Waffles 11's favorite food, deep in the woods, hinting that she may still be alive. And while Will Byers may have returned home safely, he secretly coughs up a slug-like creature and has a vision of the Upside Down, meaning he hasn't escaped danger just yet. Season 2 of Stranger Things picks up nearly 1 year later. Mike still hasn't given up hope of reuniting with 11. Will begins suffering from increasingly severe Upside Down visions, and Dustin and Lucas both develop a crush on the same new girl, Max. In other relationship changes, Nancy and Steve break up, and Joyce has a new boyfriend, the lovable Bob Newby. Meanwhile, 11 is actually alive and has been secretly living with Hopper in a secluded cabin. Though Hopper insists she stay hidden for her own safety, 11 grows angry and resentful toward her new surrogate father. This leads her to break the rules and attempt to find Mike. Unfortunately, she misreads a moment between Mike and Max as flirtatious and decides not to reunite with him. Instead, 11 goes searching for her biological mother, from whom she was taken at birth. She finds her in a catatonic state, mentally destroyed by Hawkins' lab's experiments. 11 then sets off to find Kali, another girl who was experimented on by Dr. Brenner. Kali takes 11 under her tutelage, training her to channel her anger to strengthen her powers. Meanwhile, it's revealed that Will Byers has been infected by a villainous shadow monster, dubbed by the Dungeons & Dragons loving kids as the Mind Flayer. Will starts drawing strange, seemingly random images that turn out to be a massive map of upside-down tunnels running beneath Hawkins. Hawkins' lab has been rebranded under a new director, Dr. Owens, who is trying to right the organization's past wrongs. They attempt to destroy the tunnels, but this inflicts agonizing pain on Will. Dr. Owens theorizes that destroying the tunnels could kill him. And it's not just the Mind Flayer causing chaos. Packs of loose young Demogorgons, nicknamed Demodogs, have been unleashed on the town. A newly single and heartbroken Steve Harrington teams up with Max, Lucas, and Dustin, who has adopted a Demodog named Dart, to stop the creatures. The group fends off the Demodogs and then tracks them to Hawkins' lab. Along the way, they meet up with Nancy and Jonathan, who have been trying to expose the truth about the Upside Down to the public in order to get justice for Barb. Inside Hawkins' lab, Hopper, Joyce, Bob, Mike, Will, and Dr. Owens are attacked by the pack of Demodogs. Dr. Owens stays behind to help them escape, and Bob heroically sacrifices himself in the process. The group retreats to the Byers' home as the Demodogs give chase. At that moment, 11 finally returns, having sensed that Mike was in danger, and saves everyone by defeating the creatures. After a brief emotional reunion, the group forms a plan to defeat the Mind Flayer and save Will. Joyce, Nancy, and Jonathan take Will to Hopper's cabin, where they begin overheating his body to burn the Mind Flayer's virus out of him. Steve leads the rest of the kids to the vine tunnels, which they can now destroy without hurting Will. This acts as a distraction, luring the remaining Demodogs toward them, while Hopper and 11 return to Hawkins' lab to permanently close the portal to the Upside Down. 11 successfully uses her powers to seal the gate, killing all of the remaining Demogorgons, including poor Dart. As the season comes to a close, Dr. Owens gives Hopper a forged birth certificate for 11, allowing her to live publicly as a normal child. Hawkins' lab is then permanently shut down after Nancy and Jonathan team up with disgraced journalist and conspiracy theorist Murray Bauman to expose the lab's experiments. At the middle school dance, it seems everything is finally back to normal. Steve helps Dustin look cool, Lucas and Max share a kiss, and Mike and 11 kiss as well. Oh, and the Mind Flayer is revealed to still be alive, towering over the school in the Upside Down and keeping watch over our heroes. Season 3 of Stranger Things begins with the kids of Hawkins trying to put their crazy past behind them and just be normal teenagers. Dustin returns home from summer camp with a new long-distance girlfriend, Susie, whom his friends suspect is imaginary. Max and Lucas have an on-again, off-again relationship, and Mike and 11 are still going strong. So strong that Hopper becomes fully overprotective and threatens Mike to stop seeing 11. This strains their relationship, eventually leading 11 to break up with Mike. Meanwhile, the Starcourt Mall has opened in Hawkins and becomes the new hangout spot for the kids. Steve, unsure of what to do with his life, takes a job at the mall's Scoops Ahoy ice cream shop, where he befriends and flirts with his sarcastic coworker Robin. Jonathan and Nancy become interns at the Hawkins post, while Hopper develops romantic feelings for Joyce, though she repeatedly rebuffs him. When Dustin tries to contact Susie over radio, he accidentally intercepts a mysterious Russian transmission. He teams up with Steve, Robin, and Lucas's younger sister Erica to decode the message, discovering that Russians are unloading secret shipments at the Starcourt Mall at night. Their investigation leads them to an elevator that descends into a massive Russian lab hidden deep beneath the mall. Inside the lab, the group discovers Russian scientists attempting to reopen a portal to the Upside Down. Steve and Robin are captured and interrogated by the Russians, but are eventually rescued by Dustin and Erica. After narrowly escaping, Steve confesses his feelings for Robin, only for Robin to reveal she's a lesbian. Meanwhile, Joyce notices strange demagnetization occurring in her home and office, and brings Hopper in to help her investigate. At first, they assume Hawkins' lab is responsible again, but they soon learn from Hawkins' corrupt mayor, Larry Klein, that the Russians have been buying up abandoned properties throughout town, including the mall, for suspicious purposes. Hopper and Joyce eventually befriend a kind, non-English-speaking Russian scientist named Alexei, taking him to Murray Bauman to translate. Alexei confirms that the Russians are trying to reopen the portal beneath Starcourt Mall. However, their discovery attracts the attention of Grigory, a Russian soldier who kills Alexei for his betrayal. Elsewhere, Nancy and Jonathan investigate the home of Mrs. Driscoll, an elderly woman convinced that rabid rats have been eating her fertilizer. They discover similar incidents across town. Soon, Mrs. Driscoll begins eating fertilizer herself, revealing she's been possessed by the Mind Flayer. Also possessed is Max's older brother, Billy, who is used by the Mind Flayer to gather an army of victims. 11 uses her powers to enter Billy's mind and discovers that the Mind Flayer seeks revenge on her for closing the portal. The possessed victims eventually fuse into a giant, monstrous organic mass, the physical embodiment of the Mind Flayer. It attacks 11's group, severely injuring her. They team up with Nancy and Jonathan and head to the mall to rescue Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica. 11 defeats the Russians, but collapses from her wound. She removes a piece of the Mind Flayer embedded inside her, causing her to suddenly lose all her powers. Hopper, Joyce, and Murray arrive at the mall to help the kids and destroy the Russian machine keeping the portal open. As the kids attempt to escape, the Mind Flayer and Billy trap them inside. 11 manages to reach the real Billy by reminding him of his happiest memory with his late mother, something she saw when inside his mind earlier. Billy realizes the horror he has caused and sacrifices himself to save Max and her friends. Down in the underground lab, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray race toward the giant machine, guided by Dustin over radio. They must open a safe containing the shutdown keys. The combination is the quantum mechanics value for Planck's constant. Fortunately, Dustin knows exactly who to call: Susie. Unaware of the life or death stakes, Susie forces Dustin to sing a duet of never-ending story before giving him the code. Hopper and Joyce open the safe and grab the keys, ready to shut down the machine. Unfortunately, Grigori arrives and attacks Hopper. Hopper kills him by throwing him into the machine, causing the entire system to malfunction. Trapped with no way out, Hopper gives Joyce the signal to destroy the machine. Heartbroken, Joyce turns the keys, closing the gate and saving the day but vaporizing Hopper in the process. With the gate to the Upside Down closed, the Mind Flayer's physical form in the mall collapses and dies. 3 months later, Starcourt Mall is destroyed, and the corrupt Mayor Klein is arrested. The Byers family take in the now orphaned and powerless Eleven and prepare to leave Hawkins for good. As the season ends, Mike and Eleven reaffirm their love for each other before Eleven departs with the Byers. Season 4 of Stranger Things begins 9 months after the Mind Flayer's defeat at Starcourt Mall. Eleven has moved with the Byers family to California, putting significant strain on her long-distance relationship with Mike. Mike and Dustin also grow distant from Lucas and Max. Lucas joins the high school basketball team and befriends the popular jocks led by Jason, while Max withdraws from everyone as she continues to grieve Billy's death. Mike and Dustin join the Hellfire Club, the school's Dungeons & Dragons group led by eccentric outcast Eddie Munson. Jason's cheerleader girlfriend Chrissy begins suffering from headaches and terrifying visions. She visits Eddie to buy drugs to cope, but while inside Eddie's trailer, Chrissy becomes possessed by a dark force from the Upside Down and is brutally killed. Eddie panics and goes into hiding as he becomes the prime suspect. Jason and his gang of jocks accuse Eddie and the Hellfire Club of satanic ritual murder and launch a manhunt to hunt Eddie down. As Mike leaves Hawkins to spend spring break with Eleven in California, Dustin, Max, and Lucas team up with Nancy, Steve, and Robin to investigate Chrissy's death. They explain the Upside Down to Eddie and name this new evil threat Vecna, who continues possessing and murdering high school students. Nancy and Robin follow a lead to Pennhurst Psychiatric Institution, where they interview Victor Creel, imprisoned decades earlier for murdering his family. Victor reveals that after moving into a new Hawkins home, his wife and children experienced terrifying visions similar to Chrissy's before being possessed and killed. Victor was blamed when no one believed him. Nancy also realizes from Victor's story that hearing his favorite song broke Vecna's hold on him, saving his life. Meanwhile, Max discovers that all of Vecna's victims suffered from severe headaches, nosebleeds, and traumatic past experiences, the same symptoms she is now experiencing. She realizes that Vecna is targeting her next. Fearing she could die at any moment, Max writes letters to all her friends and visits Billy's grave to read him one. At the cemetery, Max becomes possessed and taken to Vecna's altar in the Upside Down, where he prepares to kill her. Nancy and Robin manage to relay the information that music can break Vecna's control, and the group plays Max's favorite song. The music helps Max fight him off and escape, saving her life. Dustin theorizes that new gates to the Upside Down appear at every Vecna murder site. When Steve investigates Lover's Lake to confirm the theory, he's pulled into the Upside Down and attacked by bat-like creatures. Nancy, Robin, and Eddie dive in after him. They save Steve but can't return through the gate because it's swarmed by more of the creatures. The group decides to navigate the Upside Down to Eddie's trailer to find another exit. Back in real Hawkins, as police investigate the Hellfire Club for their supposed involvement with Eddie, Dustin, Max, Lucas, and Erica flee the authorities and head to Eddie's trailer to help rescue their friends. They manage to pull Robin and Eddie out of the Upside Down, but before Nancy can escape, she is possessed by Vecna. The villain reveals to Nancy the extent of his evil plans, promising to use the newly opened gates at the locations of his victims to fully break open the rift between the Upside Down and the real world, something that would destroy all of Hawkins. Meanwhile, Mike arrives in California to spend his spring break with Eleven and the Byers family. He quickly discovers that although Eleven told him she was doing great, she's actually depressed and constantly bullied. Eleven is also upset with Mike for not telling her he loves her. Will has his own issues with Mike, feeling abandoned by his best friend, who only seems to care about Eleven. And Jonathan is dealing with his own relationship problems, too afraid to tell Nancy that he is having second thoughts about their college plans because he wants to stay close to protect his family. The kids soon have the whole house to themselves as Joyce receives a message from Hopper, revealed to have survived the Starcourt Mall explosion and now imprisoned in Russia. A kindly prison guard named Antonov agrees to help Hopper escape and tells Joyce to bring $40,000 to a Russian pilot in Alaska. Joyce teams up with Murray Bauman and heads to Alaska, where they meet the eccentric pilot Yuri. Yuri betrays them, drugging Joyce and Murray, ratting out Antonov to the other Russians, and sabotaging Hopper's escape attempt. As Yuri flies the captured Joyce and Murray to hand them over to the Russians, they manage to escape their restraints, and Murray uses his new black belt skills to overpower him. They hatch a plan to break Hopper out of prison, with Murray posing as Yuri to deliver Joyce and the real Yuri to the Russians. The plan works, and the group is allowed inside the prison, where they are forced to watch Hopper, Antonov, and other prisoners fight a Demogorgon. Hopper uses his past experience with the creature to save his and Antonov's lives. Murray and Joyce then reveal their ruse, subdue the guards, and unlock the doors, allowing Hopper and Antonov to flee. Hopper and Joyce share an emotional reunion, and the group escapes. But upon learning the dangers back in Hawkins, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray return to the Russian prison to destroy the lab filled with Demogorgon test subjects, hoping it will weaken the Upside Down and help the kids fight Vecna. Back in California, after her bullies publicly humiliate her, Eleven finally snaps and assaults one of them. After being arrested, Eleven is saved by Dr. Owens, who warns her about everything happening in Hawkins. While government officials believe Eleven might be responsible and too dangerous to keep alive, Owens assures her he believes in her goodness and has been working on a program that could restore her powers. Eleven agrees to go with Owens to regain her abilities and save Hawkins from Vecna. When armed soldiers attack the Byers house, Mike, Will, and Jonathan flee with Jonathan's stoner friend Argyle and race to find Owens and Eleven. During the journey, Will gives an emotional speech to encourage Mike, subtly implying that he's gay and secretly in love with him. Owens takes Eleven to a secret underground lab where he reveals that he has been working with a very much alive Dr. Brenner to develop an isolation tank known as Nina, which would allow Eleven to access her forgotten memories and reawaken her powers. Inside Nina, Eleven remembers her time at Hawkins' lab under Dr. Brenner, where she was bullied by other superpowered children. She befriended a kind orderly who warned her not to trust Brenner. Eventually, the orderly reveals that he is actually the first child experimented on by Brenner, who had a device implanted in his neck to suppress his powers. Eleven helps remove the device so they can both escape, but instead, the orderly massacres everyone in the lab. It turns out the orderly was actually Henry Creel, the son of Victor Creel. Henry had used his powers to murder his mother and sister, and although Victor was told Henry died, he was actually placed under Brenner's care. Now that Eleven knows his secret, Henry tries to kill her too. Eleven overpowers him, ripping open the first portal to the Upside Down and sending him through it, where he transforms into Vecna. In the present, Eleven has fully regained her powers and wants to return to Hawkins to save her friends, but Brenner insists she's not ready and sedates her. At that moment, the corrupt military group arrives, intending to kill Eleven because they believe she is the source of Hawkins' troubles. Brenner protects Eleven and tries to flee with her, but is shot and killed during the escape. Eleven wakes up, kills the pursuing soldiers, and is rescued by Mike and the others. Back in Hawkins, the group forms a plan to defeat Vecna. Max, Lucas, and Erica head to the Creel house, where Max allows Vecna to enter her mind and possess her. As Vecna attacks Max inside her mind, Lucas tries to protect her in the real world until Jason barges in and fights him, still convinced the Hellfire Club is behind Chrissy's death. During the struggle, Max's music cassette breaks, leaving her completely vulnerable. Inside Max's mind, Vecna nearly kills her until Eleven arrives through the homemade isolation tank created by Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle. But Vecna overpowers Eleven and reveals the truth. Every past threat, including the Mind Flayer, was part of his master plan. In the Upside Down, Dustin and Eddie try distracting the swarm of bats. When the situation gets worse, Eddie sacrifices himself to buy more time, dying heroically. Steve, Nancy, and Robin finally reach Vecna's physical body, but are captured by vines that begin choking the life out of them. Meanwhile in Russia, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray kill the remaining Demogorgons and the shadow particles, weakening Vecna's hold. Their victory loosens the vines in the Upside Down, freeing Steve, Nancy, and Robin, who attack Vecna's body with guns and Molotovs, setting him on fire. Even with Vecna burning, the damage is already done. In Hawkins, Max's limbs snap and she dies in Lucas's arms, opening the final gate. All 4 gates explode through Hawkins, tearing the town apart and causing massive destruction, including Jason's death in the chaos. A devastated Eleven uses her powers to restart Max's heart, bringing her back, but Max falls into a coma, her mind completely empty and unreachable. 2 days later, Eleven, Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle return to a wrecked Hawkins. The town is evacuating, families are displaced, and chaos is everywhere. Dustin, Robin, and Steve volunteer at an emergency shelter. Eleven visits Max, but she finds no trace of her consciousness. Hopper finally reunites with Eleven, giving them both a brief moment of happiness, but the danger isn't over. As Will touches the back of his neck, the familiar chill returns. He realizes the truth. Vecna survived, and the Upside Down is starting to merge with Hawkins. Season 4 ends with the group standing together, staring at the dark clouds and ash spreading across their town, knowing the real war is only just beginning.